Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Elite Talk 2017. Stand up or climb up. Once again, I just want to introduce you again what is Elite Talk. So Elite Talk is a non-profit organization that was founded in Melbourne in 2015 to create a platform for young and talented professionals to diverse into create a forum to talk with our new generation, with our young generation.
We wish to facilitate an environment for young leaders to share their story that can guide the junior to overcome upcoming challenges during their professional life and career. The topics being delivered during Elite Talks will revolve around how a person, a fresh graduate, can find themselves, find the passions, and make it become the professional career.
At this moment, we would like to introduce to you Mr. Sean Dong, the chairman of Elite Talk, to give us an opening speech. Welcome, Sean, on the stage.
Thank you, host. Hi. I welcome all of you here today for the Elite Talks chapter Vietnam. I would like to thank you all for attending this event, and our special thanks to our guest speakers, spending their valuable time to share their experiences with us. So why do we do Elite Talks? What do we want to achieve here? I've been an entrepreneur since I was 24. During the past decade, I've been trying to search for the formula for a young person to be successful. Of course, there are many important elements that build for success. But among all of them, I find the most important factor is the mindset. So why is mindset important? Let me tell a story. Most of you should have heard of it. The shoe company story. So actually, it's a true story. In the late 19th century, a British company making shoes tried to enter the African market. So they sent a bunch of salespeople to do research, market research. And at the end of the research, they all came back with the same conclusion. Said, there's not much potential there because African people don't wear shoes. Except for one person. He says, in the report he says, there's a lot of potential there because African people don't wear shoes yet. So the company called Bata actually entered the African market and did really well. So how did they draw different findings, based on exactly the same information? Well, I think it's the mindset. So unlike knowledge, which takes years of education to learn, unlike personality, which is built in you already, mindset is something you can learn really quickly and make big impact. So we invited all the speakers here today to share their experiences. When you listen in the next 2 to 3 hours, when you listen to their talk, other than listen carefully and ask questions, try to think, try to analyze and comprehend their decision-making logic. Decision-making logic. Throughout their life, they must have made a lot of important decisions that impact their life. And what we are trying to learn here is what's a decision-making logic, and that reflects the mindset. So there are a lot of events nowadays. I believe all of you have attended a lot of events, but most of the events are built for us, for hosts, not really for you. Elite Talks is for you. Today, at the end of the session, as long as it's one sentence you find useful, one thing you think it's going to help you, we would have achieved our purposes. So we are a young organization, but we try to inspire the world to do the right thing. We try to help young people. So more and more will join us. More and more of you will join us in the future. So when there's enough people for us to do the right thing, I believe the world will be a better place and the young people will grow faster. And last but not least, I really want to thank our sponsors today. What your money is actually making a difference to this world, and you should be proud of it. That's all from me. Enjoy today and learn the best of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Sean, can you stay back a little bit? So we will introduce to all the guests today our sponsor, and yeah, thank you for all the sponsor. And you're gonna delegate them with our certificate. Okay? Okay. No, now.
Okay, cool.
So now I would like to welcome on stage Mr. Tom Wings, representative from SCW Consulting Group.
We would like to introduce Miss Natalie from SIP Training.
Please welcome on stage Mrs. Wong from Victoria University.
For your information, Victoria Uni is our venue sponsor for this event. I would like to say thank you for all of you. We have one more here. Thank you, sponsors. Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Last year, EliteTalk was introduced to Vietnamese international student community and succeeded beyond expectation. The Talk 2016, with the theme Dream, Lost and Found, has attracted many audience who come to be inspired by the dreamer, the entrepreneur, and the leader. EliteTalk 2017 has initiated a forum where young, ambitious Vietnamese students in Melbourne can get business advices for their career pathways in Australia from the pioneers.
And once again, with the team Startup and Climb Up today, EliteTalk Forum 2017 aims to provide insight into the two main possible career pathway for the fresh graduate to climb to the corporate ladder by working in the established firm or organization, or to start with a completely new personal business. So I would like to say welcome to you with the four generous speakers for today. Have spent their time to join with us for the event. Please welcome from Team Startup, Mr. Xuân Ngọc from Senior Producer SPS.
Mrs. Xuân Ngọc come from Team Climb Up. And the second speaker is welcome Ms. Harwood, Communication Advisor for A and Z.
Thank you, Startup. We would like to introduce to you Mr. Nguyen from CEO Beyond Edge and CEO Baguette.
And the second speaker for Team Startup, Ms. Cheryl Tai, CEO of Cupcake Central.
Thank you so much. So, we're going to have four stories today. Okay? Before we are going to each story, I would like to remind you something. First of all, can you turn all of this phone into silent mode? So it's not going to be the stuff, our guest today. Secondly, in your hand gift pack, you will receive a note so for you to write the question for all of the guest speakers today. Okay? If you want to give the guest speaker all of the questions today, please write it down. We're going to have volunteer. Will come in the break time and collect your question. Is it okay? Okay. Okay, let's start with the first story. Mr. Xuân Ngọc moved to Melbourne from Hanoi when he was 26 years old, after 2 years in the position of VTV's MC and 2 years working as a professional financial advisor for Vietcombank Private Banking. He studied Master of Business, Banking and Finance at Monash University and proceeded to work in the proactive environment of ABC National Radio Vietnamese program until 2011. The passion with media that he called destiny brought him into SBS Radio with support and encouragement from experience colleges and family, he decided to follow the career of the radio presenter, editor in the best multi-language media corporation in Australia, which called SBS. He is in charge of senior producer after 5 years hardworking and dedicated for his patient in SBS. He believes that opportunities are always out there for anyone ready to face challenge. Let's welcome on stage Mr. Suna from SBS.
Thank you, Gwen. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone. And maybe the first of all, I would like to thank all of you for your attendance today to listen to our story. I really don't want to be called a guest speaker, but just a former Vietnamese overseas student who have the time to study here, to live here, and now to work here. I just want to share my story only. So thank you so much for all of you being here today. And of course, I would like to thank all the team of Elite Talks who always support us. I appreciate it. That is my proud, my opportunity to tell my story with you. Thank you. And you just have listened all the story about just myself, that Nguyen, he introduced all of myself in some sentence, very shortly, but that's my life. I just want to tell you the reason why I left the whole country to come here, to chase my dream. Why? Because at that time I was 26 years old and working for one of the best bank in Vietnam, Vietcom Bank, and in the best department, that what we called private banking department, just serving all the VIP guests of Vietcom Bank, who are really richest people in Vietnam. Why I left everything to come here? So now, you always have your way, your thought, your thinking about what you have done, what you want to do for your life, what the way you want to live your life. I think that you all have that in your mind, and me too, me either. At that time, my dreams is that maybe coming to other countries to learn. The first is to learn the way they do, the way they operate, why they are richer than our country, why they have the biggest bank of the world, but not our country. I just want to learn. That is the first thing. I think that. The second thing, I think that maybe I'm suitable, I'm fit with other society rather than in Vietnam. Because you know in Vietnam, the first thing you need to have is not the knowledge. It's not your experiences, your relationship, your money. That's what I did not have. That's why I choose coming to other countries to work, to dedicate my life, and to live my own life. And maybe that's the luckiness for me when I get here as the student of Monash as banking and finance master degree. That's what I did. And now I will tell you about my experience in media. I started my media route when I was a student in Vietnam as the MC, translator, interpreter, and content producers for VTV2. You know, you own a VTV2 in Vietnam, yeah? Vietnamese television channel 2, focus on education and technology. That's what I began with this media. And here, when I come here, of course, studying is not only the first thing you've done here. You just have your free time, working, and have many activities in your life. I was very passionate about the Vietnamese students' activities here, like MOPSA and MVIX, like all the guys over there, always want to live the life that as MC and as singer, editor, organizer for some events, like I remember that Miss MOPSA 2009 contest. I was the MC at that time and joined some gala. The gala in 2010, I was to have the third prize at that gala. But you know that all the activities is worthy. I guess my chance from joining activities of Vietnamese Community Association. After I was MC, I was organizer for some really important events for Vietnamese Students Association here. ABC offered me a position as the presenter, as the broadcaster for ABC. That's the first time I had worked with ABC and with media in Australia, and it opened my media route here. And after that, I joined the SBS in early 2012. At that time, for me, it was really a challenge. And for our community, also was the challenge as well. Why? Because here we have the gap, really big gap between the community living here, the refugee community, Vietnamese refugee community, and the community came here after 2000. Really big gap, as you know. The politics, the history, the Vietnam War, really big gap. So that's why I tell you that for me it's the challenge, and for SBS as well. But they offer me the position at SBS as casual Vietnamese producer at that time, and I start my media route in SBS until right now for over 5 years. And I just want to share with you my story only. Some of the highlights about my working, my job. In 2013, the first time I have many special interviews with State Minister in Australia, Tony Burke, and other political members of the Australian government at that time. And I learned much from them. I learned much from the media in Australia. It's really different from we have in Vietnam when I was working for VTV2. It's really different. And I learned much from that. But that is the first highlight of mine. Next one, in 2014, that's what I want to share with you. Really want to share with you. Because that was the really important, really effective events affect many Vietnamese in our community here and in our country, our home country. And we have many protests against it. We have the protest against the Chinese, the Oric Haiyan 981 event. At that time, they used this rig to take the conflict in the dispute seas of Vietnam, with Vietnam. That's why our community here that protesting. And now you can see the link. This link showed us the interview, the live interview in 2014 I was conducting at that time. And now I want to share with you just some minutes about the interview then, to show you that how the Vietnamese react with something the neighbor did with us.
Thưa quý vị, đó là không khí biểu tình của rất nhiều bạn trẻ đang sống, làm việc và học tập tại Melbourne trước cửa lãnh sự quán Trung Quốc tại Melbourne. Một không khí có thể nói là rất là sôi nổi của những người tham gia cuộc biểu tình ngày hôm nay. Bây giờ là 12 giờ khoảng. Ngày hôm nay chị đi một mình hay đi với ai ạ?
Đi với cô em
Chị muốn chia sẻ một điều gì? Nếu mà chị được nói một câu nào đó với chính phủ Trung Quốc thì chị yêu cầu điều gì?
hãy tôn trọng hòa bình và tôn trọng lãnh thổ của người khác, bởi vì tất cả chúng ta nên xem như là tất cả mọi người là những công dân toàn cầu, và nếu chúng ta tôn trọng hòa bình chúng ta cũng đang tôn trọng hòa bình ở đây trong đất nước của mình.
Cảm ơn chị rất là nhiều và chúc chị có một cuộc biểu tình có thể nói là trong hôn hoa và thể hiện được sự văn minh của người Việt, đúng không ạ?
Cảm ơn.
That's what I did. That's what I did. And in 2015, as maybe many people here maybe just still remember that event, really big event for the fan of soccer. That's the AFF Cup 2015. That is the event that Australia soccer team won the championship for the first time. And I'm really lucky to conduct the live coverage in the stadium, in various stadiums in Australia for that event. That's what I did. And after that, I found that Vietnamese here really love soccer. And maybe that the outcome from that give us a gift. That's what we always call promotion. In 2016, I became the main presenter and senior producers of SBS Vietnamese program until right now, still working, still dedicating my life for the media. And now I just want to share something really shortly. Vietnamese always are the hard workers, yeah? In many fields, I know that. Hard students, hard workers here, and sometimes really smart workers. The hard thing is that sometimes we need to be more, to be smarter, but that we can learn from other people. We can learn from the community here, the Australian here, the second generation Australian here. We learn from them the smart work, industrial culture. That's what we learn from that. So the first thing, work hard and harder. Yep. Never forget to show your managers solutions for every problems. I would like to ask some managers here. We have 2 managers here, yeah? Is it right? Absolutely, yeah. I always have the solution. I always finish the job before I met the manager. Even before they ask me about that job, finish it. Try to think first. Maybe think faster. Here I'm sharing about the climb up, yeah. We all think about the climb up in a corporation, in a company, yeah. And let's enjoy something outside the job. What do you like in the free time? What do you do in free time? For me, just riding the motorbicycle around the mountains and enjoy the sunshine from the really beautiful beach of Melbourne. At that time, I can think about myself, think about the job, think about other better things, about
the plan for the future. That's why we just try to enjoy something outside the job, just not be the robot. We are not robots. We work, but we are not robots. We are the human beings. We know how to love, how to hate, how to enjoy. So let's enjoy yourself outside the job. That's what I withdraw over the period of working in SBS and in other corporations. Yeah, willing to work long hours when needed. Go home on time, sometimes early. I always come back home early. Why? Because finish job, finish working. But I'm willing to work longer hours. I still remember that I spent more than 18 hours continually to conduct the interviews outside Melbourne in Adelaide. After that, try to post some photos, edit some video clips, upload to the website, upload to the Facebook, and try to convince other people to get there to have more views. 18 hours continually. I'm willing to do it. And I think you also did it. Maybe sometimes in your life. But when you finish the job excellently, you can be confident to ask your manager that, "Manager, hey sir, I finished my job, finished everything. Can I take a rest? Come back home and enjoy yourself. Come back, enjoy something outside the job to get the more energy for the next step, for the next plan." Yeah, don't quit the job title. Yeah, and I said to you, as a former student, I have done many jobs here. Dishwasher, salesman, deliverer, pickpocket, many jobs. And I've learned that don't wait the job's targets. You can choose the job. You can choose what you have to do next. Not this job, maybe next job, next thing. And think about it. Honestly, I always have the good idea when I take bath. When I take bath, thinking, brainstorming, and have many good ideas for me. Yeah. As I said to you, let's try to do something before you think that, or you tell to the manager that I want to get promoted. Just try to focus something, to try to focus what you want to do, you really want to do. To be your motivation in your working. That will bring you the success in the future. That must be. Here. In Vietnamese we call that nhất quan hệ, đúng không? Nhất quan hệ gì ạ? Tiền tệ. Còn sau là hậu duệ đủ thứ, đúng không ạ? Yeah. Relationships in Australia are still one of the priority. Sometimes the number one priority. Why? Everyone want to listen. Everyone want someone else to do the job really good, really excellently. But you always want somebody to have a good relationship with them. At least you need to understand, you need to know about them, about job. At least you have to know about your manager. And the best thing is that you have to have a good relationship with all levels of the corporation. In SBS, weekly, we always have the pizza lunch. Each week, we always have that. Just 2 pizza, not enough for all the college to enjoy, but all the people get there to communicate, maybe some share experience, share the news, share the features, share the plans, share the ideas for the next plan, for the next week. That's why they have the pizza lunch every week. And of course, we have many other activities. Here, anyone knows about Craig Foster? No? Les Murray? No? My goodness me. Les Murray is the legend sport commentator of Australia who brings here the soccer, who brings here all the fans, all the love with the soccer here. Les Murray. He was Hungarian. And the relations really important. Now, he passed away, but I would like to share with you a story that I was playing in the football team of SBS and playing with Craig Foster. Right now, he is the commentator for the soccer of SBS and late Les Murray. And I learned much from that activity, learned much from that relationship. Why? Because they are the talent. They are excellent in sports here. They understand everything. They know everything about the events, about the angle of soccer culture in Australia. That's what I have learned from them via the relationship. Okay, let's think what should happen next. Everyone has the plan for the future. Yeah? Maybe the short future, maybe the long future, long periods of life in the future. And I think that we need to have that. But the short term, maybe I'm staying here right now. But I'm thinking about next week I will conduct which interview, which topics. Honestly, before coming here to have the presentation, I got at least 3 contacts with really good Mr. Huang. Yeah, PhD, yeah, in biotechnology. I got that contact with the master of international relationship, over there. Maybe next week we'll conduct some interview about maybe the current affairs of Asia. Yeah, why not? Maybe next time I will talk about some virus, Yeah, now we have the flu virus here in Melbourne. I would like to have the explanation from you next week. Why not? That's what I would like to share with you, that we think what should happen next. And I'm thinking about it. That's all I would like to share with you about my story today. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
If you love your job, 18 hours is been like 1 hour, right? Okay, everyone, just please a big clap again for Mr. Sonia. Thank you very much. I would just like to remind you once again about the notes that you have. If you have any questions for our guest speaker, please just write down your questions. We'll collect it shortly after the speech, and then we'll discuss it in the panel, right?
So how can you tell me about the next story?
Okay, so for now, I would like to give you a brief introduction about our next speaker. She spent nearly 6 years in media industry, and together with a young and ambitious team, she built a startup financial magazine called Vietnam Financial Review, a leading English magazine that provides practical analysis of Vietnam economy from exclusive interviews with high-ranking officers from various government bodies and executives from multinational corporations and local corporations. In 2011, she became head of communications for ANZ Vietnam and developed a strong communication team to support the bank and local community. for 3 years. Until 2015, she started with the new role as a communication advisor in ANZ Corporate Centre in Australia. Having a strong personality and amazing perspective on the world of business, she would be one of your most inspiring colleagues. Today, it is an honor for us to have her here on stage and listen to her story. Please have a big clap for Ha Boy!
Give me a call. He gave me a call and said like, I met you a couple of years ago, and we have this event, and just come and talk and share some of your personal experience with the students here. And I said, well, my story is very, very normal, and I don't know if you're going to add a lot of values to students. And we're a bit reluctant. But Juan said it actually not the more inspirational stories that are helpful to the students, but the practical ones. And I have one, and hopefully you can go away and take some with you home. In the next 20 minutes, I'm probably going to spend 5 minutes telling a little bit about myself, who I am, who I work for, what I'm passionate about. And then the main focus of the presentation is talk about some of the trends that I observe at ANZ, and also some of the large corporates that I have the opportunity to know of, and also what I expect of you as their future workforce. So I hope it's going to be useful somehow. First thing first, I know how to use it. Yes, I entered the workforce in 2006, about 10 and 11 years ago with Vietnam Financial Review. It's one of the startup, how you call it, in the media world in Vietnam. And it's a great group of all the Oxford, Harvard students, and they all joined together, set up this magazine. It's a monthly English magazine in finance. So I had the opportunity to work with them, and the photo of me working with my team. We had a similar networking event to kind of promote about the magazine. And I worked there for 6 years. Okay, let's take one back. And this is the team of ANZ in Vietnam. And there's all CEO, CFO, head of HR, that's the leadership team who managed the ANZ Vietnam business. And I was luckily one of them. And this is the team, half of my team in Melbourne. I joined them in December 2015. And that's a bit of a moment of advertisements. I was last year completely stoked because I found out that I was nominated by my line managers to be the in the running for the winners of the Take Charge and Stand Out award for ANZ. That's the kind of the biggest award in ANZ, and I won. I was one of the 100 best employees of the year, and the size of ANZ was 60,000 employees. So that's pretty big for me at that time. And what I would like really to share in the note from the general manager, and he wrote to the whole function about why I won. And I didn't really know about that at all until he wrote that. And he said the reason he chose me to be representing the function was my selflessness. So it's not selfish, it's selflessness. It is where you actually have to drop even your own priorities at work to help some other members for the greater good of the whole function, or for the bank, or when you're thinking about the customers. So that is what really valued, and you touch on this a little bit later in my presentation, but that is what the organization like ANZ, they really value what you're adding values to the whole bank, not just yourself climbing up or prove yourself that you've been the superstar or something like that. And that photo on the far left was when I was helping the charity project in Vietnam. I was part of the team that developed and implement that project. So the project called Project 3E stands for Educate, Enrich and Employ. So with ANZ and a local charity in Vietnam, and we was helping building schools in Long My. That's area that we identify one of the very needed area where the average income is about $26 a year. Remember, it's $26 a year, and that is way below the poverty line in Vietnam. And that will heavily committed in helping build schools. We'll build 8 schools by the time that I moved here. And then what next was I was with the 2 leaders of ANZ here in Vietnam and trying to organize a charity bike ride in Melbourne when I was already here. And we had about 70 ANZ staff who were Vietnamese, Australian, Indian, come from all over places, but they inspired by the project to help Vietnam. And we at that time organized the event across 13 different offices in ANZ, and we raised nearly 100,000 for that event. So that was terrific. And what I really want to share with you is engaging in charity projects does not only means that you are doing something for the community. You feel, engaged, and you feel your life is meaningful when you're doing something for the community, giving back. But what you can learn from and gain from it is the relationship, as Ngọc said, is through organizing that event in Melbourne. I learned so much. I met so many people who were leaders in ANZ that I didn't know of, or even outside the organizations. And that from there you can expand your network, and you can actually ask them a lot of questions. They can be your mentors, they can be your friends, they can be your colleagues, and there's a lot from there you can gain. So engaging in these outside of work or inside of work activities really help your career. And that's the photo of me trying to climb the base camp. So traveling is one of my things, and I really enjoy traveling. It's one of the investments that you never regret. So you learn so much from traveling all over the world. And family, that's my sisters and their kids, and we're taking a selfie in front of the church. If you're from Hanoi, you would know that's kind of the famous place to take selfie. But family is always the closest to your heart, to my heart. And that gives me the energy to work and to be my best. So that's a bit about myself, taking time if I'm running over time. So what next? I would like to share a very short and sharp, like 2 minutes video next. Before I hit play, the very short animated video that I did to introduce the head of talent and culture for ANZ. So she joined ANZ in in May this year, and she's one of the top 10 who running in the management board to running ANZ group. So let's watch. Did I press? Sorry. Do you like it? Thank you. Any of you, I guess there are a lot of talented young students out there, you're quite familiar with this kind of automated platform or tools that you can use to produce some form of communication. Any of you know how to use it? No? Some not over there, so I'm not the only one. Anyway, so my point for sharing this video is actually, so she's the new head of talent and culture, previously known as the human resources department for ANZ. She was pretty high-ranking officers, the top one in ANZ. And my boss at the time gave a big task. Say, we need to do something different. We need to do something new. And in ANZ, within internet comms, we have all sorts of different communication mediums, like be it all staff email or town halls or big calls, or you can do live chat or various different platforms to introduce a new head of the function. So I was pretty stuck, and I say, like, what can be different and what can create a human kind of connection from her to the whole bank, which has 60,000 staff. And I would just stumble across this Go Animated platform where you can create your own animated video. You obviously have to pay. And I did a couple of very quick desktop study to really understand how engaging animated video can add values, can help to deliver your message. And I brought forward my proposal and my thinking on how I can introduce her to the ANZ world. And luckily she said okay. She's very open-minded. She's worked for Bain & Company, if you know, one of the leading consulting firm. Very smart lady, very thoughtful, considerate. That means also sometimes very conservative. So it's hard to convince somebody with a conservative view to do something different. But I managed to convince her to do that. And once we published this animated video, she received numerous emails and phone calls from her peers and other leaders that like, this is so clever, we haven't seen this before, and we'd love to really get to know you like this, and it's very human. You're not some high-ranking officers at the bank that we find it hard to talk to, but it brings down to the level of like human and human. And also some other leaders in the bank, they knew that I produced it, so they rang me and say, can you give me some advice on how to do this? Because I want to explore this way to introduce some of the initiative or project I do for ANZ. So that was quite success. And my point here is really a couple of points. Always thinking on the lookout for new ideas, creative ideas. There's always something new out there that you don't know. Even they are very senior leaders, they don't know about. So don't be shy, be bold and be brave when you bring forward your proposal, and be confident about that. And even if it's a film, it's fine. And continuous learning. So I self-taught myself to use that over the weekend. I showed her that is doable. And that was my very minor success, but when reflecting on that, it's a lot of lesson to learn from there. So next, you all know this animal, or so the chameleon. Do you know what the chameleon is famous for? Changing color, right? What else?
Camouflage.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, I promise I won't talk about chameleon. I know nothing about them. Yes, but their color changing ability. That's the point. And that's the whole point about being adapt and being agile and nimble to the changing environment. So in ANZ, we have a lot of talks about this from the CEO, Shane Elliott, or all the leaders. And what we talk about is we can have control over all the products, all the services, all our people. We can develop training our people. But what we can't change is the environment. And banks are now competing with not like for ANZ, they are not competing with CIB or NAPS or Westpac. They're competing with fintechs. They're competing with Uber type of bank that are new to the market. And they're faster, they're more nimble, they're cheaper. They deliver better products and services to the customer. And faster, that's the point. So what big organization like ANZ with 180 years plus of experience and knowledge and a complex, massive 60,000 employees across 34 markets, what they should do to respond faster to this fast-changing, digitally disruptive working environment. And that's not something that you can change overnight. That's about mindset that I think the President talked about earlier. So what we can learn from the chameleon is that he or she actually very responsive to the environment. And what I observe is bank, large organizations, including ANZ, are doing is they trying to restructure or transform themselves in a more startup way of working, in a more nimble, in more agile, more responsive, more adaptive way of working. And they learn a lot from startup. Even the CEO went all the way to Netherlands and learned from the startup banks in Netherlands, because that's all about you're maybe the biggest, one of the biggest, but you're not the smartest, or you may not have the best solution at the moment. So it's always learning. And big organizations, they are taking that approach. So they're removing away from hierarchy structure to more agile startup kind of way to organize themselves. And that, from my observation, is working with the agile transformation. That is, they trying to remove a lot of hierarchy in the way they recruit people, in the way they develop people and retain their talent. So that really a very interesting trend for you as the future workforce to watch for, because next is what they are looking for in their future workforce. What they're looking at you to hire, why they hire you, not you, right? So what does it mean for you if you aim to work for large corporations like banks, like consulting firms or insurance firms? It's really a couple of things that I think they are looking at to hiring in their future workforce. Is somebody, what they call with T-SAFE, the T-SAFE individuals. So the T letter, as you see, is going really deep or really wide, but not going high. So they're looking for those individuals that has the deep knowledge in what they do, really very deep understanding what they're doing and their expertise, and showcase that expertise to the boss. And also the ability to collaborate across different teams. So it's not about, they're not motivating you to get to the ANZ or any organization to climb up. Actually, I'm going to debate, I'm going to challenge the name of the show today is Climb Up, because the new values that the big organizations are working is really trying to encourage everybody to work together, not being the superstar, but build a superstar team. And what they're trying to achieve is to have that team working together, deliver the best for the customers. And everybody in the bank needs to have that customer-centric mindset in the way they work and in the way they work together, in the way they deliver their own task. And it's you know, I just copied this photo from Google, but you're gonna present yourself, you're gonna make your own pathway to climb up, to start up, to climb sideways, whatever way you want to do. but your understanding about what the organization, what large organization want from you would benefit a lot would help you make informed decisions on where you want to move next. So this, a couple of hundred years back, Charles Darwin shared this quote. It's very famous, and it's not the strongest of the species that survive, nor the most intelligent, but the one that most responsive to change. And I would like to close it here, and I think one of my takeaway, one of the things that I would like you to take away is really change is the most constant thing. You can't change it. Big or small organization, you can't change the environment. But what you can do is adapt to the change and be agile, be nimble, be open-minded, and that will make you successful. Yeah. Thank you.
And on behalf of Ellie Talk team, we accept your challenge for doing Okay, from now I'm gonna call her the best employee of the years. Or you want me to call you Chameleon? Okay, I'll call you the best employee of the years, okay? So we're gonna have 5-minute break now. All the questions will Okay, then we come back with the show for tonight. I would like to use this opportunity to say thank you to our supporter. So, our supporter have include cultural organization, University of Tasmania, Vodafone, and the media team from Moment Hunter. Please give them a big hand. Now I would like to introduce to you Ms. Wong from Victoria Uni will give us a small speech and they may give you a lucky draw. So let's see who is the winner for today. Welcome on stage.
Thank you. Hope I get you some attention here. Yeah. Thank you for your attendance today, yeah, and I would like also thank you SNW, the Elite Talks team, who put together a very special and wonderful event today, yeah. I have 3 gifts, which is a VU caps here. See the color? Nice, isn't it? I will just ask you 3 very simple, easy questions, yeah. Who like to get the first one? For the guest, sorry, maybe next time, yeah. Okay, if you can share with me what new thing you learned today, just one thing you learned from the first 2 speakers, you get the prize. Who like to answer?
Okay, on my count. Wait. On my count. So what you have to do is after my count, raise your hand. Okay, no sound. Raise your hand. Okay, on my count. 1, 2, 2.5, 3.
Which one?
For her.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can please share.
Hi, my name is Naomi. Look at the audience, yeah?
Yeah, come over here.
Yeah.
No, come over here.
Yeah.
My name is Bob, and what?
Yeah, it's working. You can try this one.
So what I've learned today from Ms. Harboy is that you need to be flexible and nimble in order to be succeed in the future. And I think that is a very important thing because as a youngster, I know that the world is changing like day by day. So if we just stick with one simple rule and we don't know how to change and know how to, to be flexible, we cannot, keep up with the modern world. So what I learned with Ms. Harboy today is a very wonderful lesson, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
It is a very good answer, isn't it?
Yes.
For the new generation.
Yes.
Okay, so now the second one. Can you please count again and we can get the second person to answer?
Is it the same question?
The same question for the
Okay,
second one.
on my count again, I'll count from 3. 3, 2, 1. Let's give him a chance. Okay, you can. Could you get just stand there?
Yeah, just
stand
stand
over
there.
there.
I'll pass the microphone.
Hello everybody, my name is Anh Tuấn and I'm the first year student, master student at Melbourne University, and I quite impressed by Mr. Xuân Ngọc, and one of the most sentences that I quite impressed me is don't wait for the job and target the job that you want. I mean that is quite important, especially for the young generations like us, because if we just follow the money without follow our dream, it would be not so good. So I think that this sentence brought me a lot, and I will try to follow this sentence in my future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
My name is Anh Tuấn, or you can call Anthony.
Okay, Anthony, thank you so much. Well, I think that we should from this side.
Yeah, this side, okay.
Don't mess with them. I can see that.
The last
they're right.
question, I have to ask something related to Victorian
Okay, so
University.
some different question. Okay, from
But-
Victoria Uni.
But make it easy, okay? For Victoria University, now we are talking about the ranking. Now our ranking is really, really good now. For the ranking by Times Higher Education in 2017, have a guess what percentage we are in of the world university. Anyone know the answer?
What? Okay.
The one.
Okay.
Yeah.
You choose.
2%. 2%. Very good.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, gadgets. Don't worry, we still have some more of lucky draw at the end of the talk today. So stay tuned. Okay. Can you come over here? Okay, that's okay. Speaker, I would like to say something. So when you talk, can you just stay right here, because of the camera and take the best photo of you. Okay. So I would like to invite anh Ngọc and Chị Hà to stand here and give a speech again, so they can. Okay, who's gonna be our next speaker?
Okay, so let me introduce the next speaker. The following speakers is a leading expert in digital strategies, interactive learning, and creative productions. In 2001, he founded Beyond Age, a production company providing strategic consulting, e-learning, interactive media, and digital communication services to large corporate and governmental clients. He's also an entrepreneur, a CEO of Baguette, a Vietnamese street food eatery brand that gone from 0 to 4 stores in 12 months. So now, please welcome on stage Mr. Yu Hun.
Thank you very much. All right. I'm just going to go and find some slides. Does this work? Does this work? Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. All right. That's actually a little bit better. Cameras are good there. Okay. So how many people are interested in starting up a business? Put your hands up. Okay. Quite a good number. Okay. Well, you know, I was a little bit hesitant to come and talk today because I don't usually like to talk about myself. If you ask me to talk about instructional design or how to make a banh mi or how to make a TV series, then yeah, I've got something to talk about. But what's important to you guys today? Like, what do you really want to get out of today? You people that put your hand up on startups.
Sorry.
What's important to you today?
Actually, I'm looking.
You can say it. Okay. Actually, I'm coming here today to hear more about the experience from the people who did the startup already, because I'm looking to work in a private. I'm looking the way to building my own company, also like to work in organization outside.
Okay, great. All right. So Entrepreneurship. So the way that I see entrepreneurship, or at least my journey, is that I haven't had a real job for 20 years. At the age of 20, I was working for agencies and digital agencies, and I was on a six-figure salary very early on in my career. So that was a really difficult comfort level to take yourself out of. You know, so for you who want to start your own businesses, it's important that, I guess, at some point you make a decision to break out of your comfort zone and do something that is what you're going to be really excited about. So at the age of 20, I woke up at 5 a.m. It was dark before I left the house. I stayed at work until 9 p.m. to do conference calls with London. And by the time I got home, it was way late and dark. So my life was, happened in that 6 hours of where I actually got a little bit of sleep. So that was the reality of working in corporate world for me. And so during that time, the dot-com era, everybody wanted a website, and everybody, it was the biggest marketing kind of thing to have was a new website. So that's what a lot of the companies that I worked for did. And back then, Beyond Edge, I started because I thought, well, you know what, I could do this myself. A lot of this stuff is pretty straightforward, and these companies that have all these overheads are selling websites, and I could get involved in doing this without sort of creating a lot of overheads. And so that was a really good, important key learning. So today, Beyond Edge, I'll show you a little bit of a slide. Today, Beyond Edge provides high-level consultation around learning to large corporates and government clients. So we advise them on how to make their e-learning strategy work. That's quite a big leap from building websites, but I'll talk about pivoting your business a little bit later. I also run a venture called Baguette. It sells thousands of banh mi's and vermicelli noodle salads to people all around the city. 4 outlets in Melbourne, and I started this business 3 years ago because I really wanted to take Vietnamese food outside of Richmond and Footscray and Springvale and bring it into a bigger audience. Okay. And then in my spare time, I work on creative projects that interest me. So the latest project I'm working on is a web series called Sexy Herpes. Forgive the name. It's coming out on Wednesday, actually. I've got a launch party on Wednesday. But if you're interested, it's on YouTube, and you can find it on YouTube by Googling Sexy Herpes. It's a comedy about people who work in sexual health and the bizarre things that people come into sexual health clinics presenting with. So it's a little bit of fun. And there's one more thing I do, and I don't actually tell a lot of people about this. And I've never told a big audience about this next thing that I do. But I've also worked as a professional actor for the last 20 years, doing a range of things, Neighbours and State Coroner, a bunch of films, and I did do a season of Shakespeare's The Tempest for a Melbourne Theatre Company as well. So, and really that started off because I really wanted to choose the hardest thing to do. For somebody like me, from a refugee background, a really shy kid at school, that was the most difficult thing that I thought that I could potentially do. So you can imagine my parents' shock horror. I got quite a good entrance score for university, and I told mum and dad that I'm going to go to drama school and do acting. So you can imagine that conversation. So I don't see myself as any kind of real role model other than the fact that I do a lot of things that I'm really passionate about, and I love them. And I think that's a good starting point for anything that you want to build and any business that you're interested in getting into. So today I've sort of titled this talk 10 Things That I Wish I Knew When I Was Your Age. 10 of the most important lessons that I think in life and in business that you should know. Anybody interested in knowing those 10 things? Okay. So as I said, I came from Vietnamese parents, very conservative. We moved over to Australia when I was 4 years old through the whole refugee boat situation. So very conservative in their approach to life. And so, I mean, my biggest first thing that I want you to really do is to really listen to yourself. This is a really hard lesson that I've had to learn myself, and to trust yourself. Because everything around you, you're going to have a lot of opinions, and particularly with Asian parents, you know Asian parents. There's this cacophony of different opinions about what you should do with your life, and it's really important that you stop and you ask yourself what you want. So what do you want? What do you want to achieve out of life? It's not what would be best for me, what would make me the most money. What do you want? What do you want to do? So, when you get on a plane and they tell you the oxygen mask drops from the top, they also tell you to fit your own mask before you fit somebody else's mask, right? So you've got to be happy before you can make anybody else happy. You can't be sad enough to make somebody else happy. You can't be poor enough to make somebody rich. So you've got to start with yourself, okay? So that was my, if I had gone to law school, which was what my parents wanted me to do, life would be very different. I wouldn't be here talking to you today, let me tell you. So one of the really important lessons that I've learned as well is, and this is whether you're working in for a company, a multinational, or whether you're doing your own business, do the hardest thing first. What do I mean by that? So going to drama school, do the hardest thing first. It's easy to go to law school later on if I wanted to do law. I wanted to do drama because that was difficult for me. I actually don't tell people about the acting not because I'm embarrassed about it, but I'm not interested in the fame or the money side of it. I'm interested in because it puts me at a discomfort zone. Like putting yourself out of your comfort zone is really important. So do that hardest thing first. When I get up in the morning, I do my to-do list for the day. I choose the hardest thing to do first. And that's a really good discipline to do because you know why? There are going to be hundreds of things that you need to do, and you're going to always procrastinate on the thing that's most difficult. So, they basically call it eating the frog. Eat the frog in the morning. Do the most difficult thing first. Do the 20 sales calls that you have to make to get that business going. What else was difficult for me when I started? Doing the invoicing. Start with the invoicing if that's the most difficult thing for you to do. Deal with that HR issue because it's the most uncomfortable conversation that you need to do that first. So then the rest of your day will flow in a much easier way. Right? So big picture and small picture, do the hardest thing first. This next thing is a little bit of a random story. Okay, so when I was, I think 14, I was walking in the streets of Footscray, and this flutter, a piece of paper, sort of bounced, and I picked it up from the ground. And it said, always remember there's positive power in negative thinking. And, I could have screwed it up and thrown it away. I put it in my pocket, and I looked at it again later in the night, and I thought, there's always positive power in negative thinking. What does that mean? What do they mean? And so what I made it mean was, whenever I feel negative about something, we're always going to have self-doubt. We're always going to have a situation where we don't feel we're good enough. We're always going to have a situation where we think, I don't know whether that was the right decision for me. So when those situations come up, and you're going to come up with them a lot in your life, okay, use that as an opportunity to say, okay, actually, I'm feeling really negative about this. That's okay, because there's positive power in negative thinking. And the positive power is, you can ask yourself, okay, so now that I know what I don't want, what do I want? This is the biggest thing. If you take away nothing else from today, is this next point. when you hear yourself say, that's not what I want, or what are some of the other, not, no, don't, won't. I don't want to do that, I won't do that. That's not what I want. No, I don't want to do that. Whenever you catch yourself saying those words, ask yourself, so what do you want? So what do you want? I work on this idea of, okay, I'm allowed to spend an hour on the problem and feeling bad about the problem, but then I have to spend 4 hours looking for the solution. Okay, so don't dwell in that not, don't, can't have, I'm not good enough sort of mentality. What do you want? And when you can find yourself that emotional guidance scale of saying, okay, I can recognize that I'm feeling negative about something, and you can turn that around to say, okay, so what, I'm going to allow myself to spend an hour thinking about how terrible life is for me and how I want to slip my risks. But then ask yourself, what do you want, and spend 4 times that amount of time on the solution to that problem. And that will change your life. Okay. If you take nothing away from my talk today, that's what I want you to take away with you. But that's not enough. So the next step to that is actually being really grateful for everything that you have. I remember being a 4-year-old kid in a refugee camp, and the food came, and there was maggots and insects and all sorts of shit inside this pail of food that all of the refugees on the camp had to share, right? And all I remember is just being really grateful for the little bowl of rice that I got that day. So it didn't matter that we were in a camp. It didn't matter that we didn't know where we were going to end up. It didn't matter whether we knew whether we were going to get out of there. Right? But what's important is you feel grateful for what you do have. Right? So know what you want. Be grateful for what you already have. That energy will tell the universe that you want to bring something different into your life. You want to bring a bigger and better experience to your life. Okay. So that's really important to me. Be grateful. Let's talk about business. Okay, that's what we hear about. We talked about a little bit about some of the personal stuff. What's really important is don't start a business to make money. This is a hard lesson that I've had to learn in a number of different ways. It sounds counterintuitive, doesn't it? Like, of course you start a business to make money, but it shouldn't be the reason for business. There should be a much bigger thing at stake. Cheryl will tell you, I will tell you, running a business is really shit hard work. It's not, at times, it's just shit. It's just crap. And you deal with so much stuff that it's so important that you love what you do and you've found something that is absolutely going to make you spring out of bed in the morning and say, yes, I want to deal with that business, I want to work in that business. That is what I want to spend 80 hours a week doing, and I'm going to spend, whatever amount of time I need to spend in order to make that a success. That is a minimum. If you don't have that, don't start the business, go and work for a company. It's not worth your time, it will be a failure. 90% of businesses fail in the first 3 years. Don't do it. If it's not something that you're absolutely passionate about, don't do it. And certainly don't do it for money. Don't take a job for money. I never took a job for money. That's why at 20 years old I was on a 6-figure salary. Because I took jobs in order to learn. And once I've learned enough from that job, I applied for a different job to learn something else. The money was just accidental. It was just, oh, okay, you've accumulated all of this experience. You must mean something, you must be valuable. I can tell you that employers will absolutely look at your experience far beyond your experience and your attitude, far beyond anything that you've done qualification-wise or educationally. And I apologise for UT for saying that, Victoria University for that. But attitude is everything. Okay, so don't choose a job for money. And if you have to, work for free until you get to the job that you want. People don't do that enough. Just call them up and say, I'm happy to work for free. I want to know what this industry is like. Okay, this is a really important thing to know about businesses. If you're going to start a business, you need to know why. Why is what you're doing important? Why is that business an essential business that's going to take the world forward? And if you don't know why, don't start the business. Work it out, find the why. So what do I mean by that? Anybody heard of Simon Sinek? Yeah? Okay. So Simon Sinek says, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay. So, I'll just find my little example here. Well, let's talk about Beyond Edge. So, Beyond Edge is a business that produces learning solutions for organisations, right? So if I called you up as a client and I said, look, I'm calling from Beyond Edge, we build e-learning programs that help you train your staff. Can I come in and see you? Okay, well let's go to the how, okay? So I'm from Beyond Edge. We build e-learning programs by putting really good instruction design into our courses to make sure that learners really engage with the work. Is that better?
Better.
Okay, right. So let's go to the how, why, which is the target that you want to actually speak to. Right? The why is, we know how critical your business is and how important it is to get your cultural and business knowledge to your staff. But e-learning is so boring. Beyond Edge specialises in making e-learning exciting and engaging and effective. So the why is much more important. Okay? So let's look at baguette. Baguette makes banh mi and rice paper rolls. Right? Starting with the why is that our family have been passionate about making banh mi since my grandmother sold her first house-made baguette rolls on the banks of the Mekong Delta. We want to keep true to her legacy and her recipes by bringing authentic banh mi to you. Okay? So that's the why. The what is, we make banh mi. It's good for lunch. Come and have it for lunch. So it's really important that you work on the why of your business, because that's what people buy. It's not what to do. It's important to start a conversation with a staff member or colleague with the why. Even when I speak to my staff at Baguette and I tell them, okay, well, I need you to clean down that, the spill on the floor. I wouldn't say, clean that up, because just go and clean that up. I would tell them, okay, the why is, it's really important that the safety aspect of our organisation is looked after, and I want to make sure that you guys are safe. Would you mind addressing that issue? So always start with the why in all of your conversations with anybody, whenever you're trying to persuade them to anything. Okay? I deal with that with the shareholders, I deal with that with my management staff. It's always about starting with why is that important before the what. The how and then the what. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this one's really important. Do not start a business until you understand what the business model is. If I could turn back in time, I would start with working out my business model from this point onwards. Until you've sort of worked out what your business model is, don't start it. Does anybody know what a business model is? Any ideas? Yeah? Go ahead, tell us. Okay. I thought you were volunteering. That's okay. All right. So a business model is how do you create value from the business idea that you're creating? Okay. What is the value creation system? So the value creation system is how does the product fit the market, and does anybody actually care? Okay. How does a business make money? And if you can find that product market fit, you have a good business. Okay. So the product value proposition is making sure that you understand what value your business offers, and it's really clear what the value proposition for that business is. And then matching that up with the customer segment. Who's your customer? And do they care what your value proposition is? Okay. I don't want to go into too much detail about this, other than to say to you, I really want you to Google this and learn everything that you can from these clips before you start your business. And even if you're working for an organisation, make sure that you understand how to communicate the business model of what you're doing, why what you're doing adds value. So if I could go back and start again all over again, I would spend a lot more time on the business model before we even open. All right. So the next item is fail fast. And fail fast means work out whether the business is successful in the business model that you've created, and if it's not successful, go out and try a different business model, validate that with the audience, right? So market validation means you go out, and if I say, I think that people in the city will be interested in Banh Mi, I need to go out and ask people what they actually are interested in for lunch. What are the issues around the lunch that they're having at the moment, and how could anything that I produce make a difference to their experience of lunch? Okay? So does that make sense? So if you're going to start a business selling a new electric car, you have to work out who your market segment is and what the value proposition of that car is. And does the market care about that value proposition? So work that out. Okay? So go and Google a whole bunch of things. Fail fast, do your market validation around the business model that you've got. And if I could go back and whisper these words to myself, that would have saved me a few $1 million if I knew this information back then. Okay. So the last thing is commit to lifelong learning. Ha said it and Sean said it earlier in the day that change is the constant. Right? The world is changing so much faster than it ever has in the entire history of human evolution. So we are in a state of flux where change is so constant. How constant? I've got some numbers for you here. So the rate of change. Let's look at the rate of change. In the 1960s, all of the data in the world. So X is time, and Y is the amount of data that the world had. Okay. So in the 1960s, you can see that data, the amount of data that the world had, doubled every 10 years. In the 80s, with the advent of desktop computers, all of the data in the world doubled every 5.5 years. In the 90s, thanks to a little thing called the internet, anybody heard of the internet? All of the information in the world doubled every 20 months. So today, how fast is that rate of change? Anybody guess? How quickly does all of the information in the world double? 2 months? Any more takers?
A month?
Yeah. So there's a 3 to 6 week window where all of the data in the world doubles. So it's absolutely important that you commit to lifelong learning. It's absolutely important that you know that your jobs are becoming out of date as you sit here. It's important that you know that your university degrees that you're doing right now will be out of date by the time you graduate. So lifelong learning is absolutely critical. One other little thing is the point about creativity. And Ha spoke about creativity as well, and how you should bring creativity into your workplace. It's absolutely critical because we're not in the knowledge age anymore. Information is no longer power. The people that will have value moving forward are the people who can take data and information and synthesize that into new learning and new thought. And they're the creators. They're the creative people. So what's a practical way you can do that? Find ways that you can be creative on a daily basis. Find a thing that you do every week that is creative, that pushes you outside of your comfort zone. Always think, how else can I do this? is my business model still relevant? I need to update and pivot my business model. Imagine if Beyond Edge stuck with making websites for corporations. We would have zero work, at this point. We had to pivot to a business model that was very clear about who the market segment was. We always said that we wanted to work with the top companies in Australia. We wanted to work with CSIRO, we want to work with the Commonwealth Bank, we wanted to work with Australian government, that those are the clients that we want to work with. And that they care about the value proposition that we have, which is about making learning really interactive and really effective. Right? So that's what that's the 10 things I wanted you to take away with. And that concludes my talk. If we have time later, I'll show you a little preview of Sexy Happiness.
Thank you, Anita. Thank you. So, three main points I can take out of Mr. Yuman's speech. The first thing, to be grateful to what you do have. The second thing, make yourself happy first. The third thing, don't go to law school. Don't do PhD because it's gonna expire when you're ready for your introduction. Okay? We're gonna go with the next guest speaker. First question, who is from RMIT? And you should study in RMIT. Okay. Who is doing business information system? Okay, we're going to have one here. Alright. You're going to change your mind after the speech. I think so. Okay. The story is about the girl study business information system and always think that IT should be her life career. And when she was 21 years old in New York, seeing people baking and running the cupcake business, her destiny had changed. Starting out with an online cupcake business, Cheryl and her business partner, Ting New, found Cupcake Central, and since then, the chain has grown to 5 stores in Melbourne. In 2015, she had taken on board with the role as CEO of the League of Extraordinary Women, an organization she co-founded in 2011 to enable female entrepreneurs starting out in business and discovering what entrepreneur means. Please welcome on stage Ms. Cheryl.
Hi everyone. My name is Cheryl, so I hope you've all enjoyed the cupcakes out there. Did everyone get a cupcake? So today I just want to go through my story and share with you my story and some tips and tricks on how to hatch that dream. So if you, I'm also the CEO and co-founder of League of Extraordinary Women as well, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So I want you all to think back to when you were 8 years old and imagine someone asked you the question, what do you want to do when you grow up? So take a moment and think back to when you were 8. So when my parents asked me at 8 years old what I wanted to do when I grow up, I said to them I wanted to change the world. And I think, they were really hoping that I would say I want to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant, but I just said, I wanted to change the world. That was what I wanted to do. And I don't know why I said that, but it's always stayed with me throughout my whole life. So I guess, going through high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I finished high school and I went to a selective high school, which was Mac Robertson Girls High School, and everyone there was extremely smart. They all went on to get 99.9 and studied medicine, law, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I looked at my uncle actually for inspiration, and he was an IT consultant in the early 2000s, and I just saw him travel a lot of the time, and he got paid lots of money. So he worked 6 months of the year, and then he got 6 months off, and he was just traveling. And so I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an IT consultant. So I studied business information systems at RMIT. So, and that's what kind of, it showed me a lot it taught me a lot. And I decided that I wanted to be an IT consultant for a really large firm. So, for the first job I ever applied for, I actually applied for over 200 jobs before I got my first job. Growing up, I was actually quite shy. So I wouldn't be able to speak on stage or even pick up the phone and talk to people because I was really shy. And for me, my dream was to work for a big firm. So I actually eventually got a job at a global firm. It was an American firm. It was one of the biggest. And it was when I went over to New York. I was still studying at the time, and I went to this bakery. It's called the Magnolia Bakery, which is one of the famous bakeries in New York. And I took a bite of a cupcake, and people would line up for hours. And I thought these people were crazy. Why would they line up for a cupcake? And so of course I did the same thing, and then had the cupcake. And then I just had this dream. I don't know what happened to me, but I came back home and I loved cupcakes, and I started baking cupcakes for everyone. And it was just one of those things that I don't understand, and now I sort of do. But I was still working in corporate world, and I was really, every day I would wake up not wanting to go to work. I would fall asleep at work, so I would fall asleep on my desk. I felt like something was missing, so every morning I'd go to work and I'll look at my screen and I'll read cupcake blogs. That's the first thing I would do at work. And I really felt like something was missing. I felt like my life, I wasn't born just to sit in front of a computer and work for money. And I only live for 2 days of the week. If you think about most people, they hate Mondays and then they can't wait till Fridays. So that was my life. I would hate going to work, like tomorrow, I would hate going to work. And then on Fridays, I would be so happy because the weekend was coming around. But now, it doesn't even matter if tomorrow's Monday or today's Sunday. I enjoy every single day as it is. So, it was just something that was interesting to me, and I thought something was really missing, so that's me falling asleep. So I guess the day that changed my life was in 2009. So the global financial crisis came around. The company I was working for was an American firm. I remember my boss texting me the night before, and he said, "You have to come into work at 9 a.m, we have an important meeting." Didn't know what it was about. And I walked into work and went into the office with two of the managers, and they said to me that I no longer had my job. So they handed me a yellow envelope and said, "You can actually pack up your things and go." And that was it. And I was working so hard for a promotion. It was actually quite hard because even working for a big company, you had to travel, and travel seems really nice, but it's actually you take so much time away from your family and even your friends. And I was really just heartbroken. So I took about 2 weeks. I was crying every day, not knowing what to do. But then I thought to myself, this is my opportunity. This is actually something I've been always dreaming about for years, to start my own business. So how did I catch that dream? So the first 3 months, what I did was, well, first of all, to make that decision, I just said to myself, I'm going to give myself 6 months. If I can't make my business work, I can always go back into the corporate world. And I had to move back home. So moved back home with Mum, and then I did the following things to start my business. And I didn't know how to start a business either, so I taught myself everything. So I scribbled out a business plan, I registered my business name, I became a sole trader, and all of this stuff I kind of Googled. I registered my home kitchen, so I didn't have money, I didn't have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars to open up a store. So I asked around, I asked a lot of friends, hey, do you know how to register your home kitchen so you can bake and sell cupcakes? And you know, a couple of them said, oh, I heard it costs thousands and thousands of dollars, you have to build a whole separate kitchen to your home kitchen. I heard it's very difficult. And you know, at first I was like, oh no, I don't have tens of thousands of dollars, and it sounds really hard. But then something told me to think, well, this person hasn't done it, so I'm just going to call the council and ask them. And so I called the council and I asked them, you know, what do I need to do to register my home kitchen? And it ended up only costing about $500. Like, I just modified a few things in my kitchen and I registered my home kitchen, and it wasn't that hard. And so that was my first lesson, that I realised when I ask for advice, I only ask for advice from people that have done it. So I don't ask for advice from people that haven't done it, because everyone has an opinion. And I also launched an online business. So it was an online store. I got a friend to help me build a website. He was getting married later that month, so in exchange I baked him cupcakes for his wedding. So I started my business with less than $2,000. So I knew that I only had a small amount of money to last me for the 6 months, and I wanted to make sure that every dollar I invested in my business would actually, you know, be worthwhile. So these are the first cupcakes I ever baked. You can see that practice does definitely make cupcakes better. So I remember bringing these first cupcakes into work one day, and just seeing my colleagues' faces light up when they ate the cupcakes, even though they looked terrible, that's what got me hooked onto baking cupcakes. So, and that's my business partner and I. So, yeah, we started baking cupcakes, and that's my first kind of logo as well. Started baking cupcakes and selling them at the market. So that's what we did. Every morning I would, you know, wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. and bake and go out to the markets. So I did this for about 10 months, and it got to a point where I got so busy. I was within, I think, even 5 months, I was making more money baking cupcakes 3 days a week than I was actually in my corporate job. So yeah, it became really busy and I couldn't bake at home anymore. So my business partner, Tin, who's also my ex-boyfriend, which is a story for another time, but he and I, yeah, started a business, and we opened up our first store in late 2010. So, we've now got, in the last 7 years, we've now got 5 retail stores. We own all of the stores across Melbourne. We employ over 95 staff. We've baked over 1 million cupcakes. I don't even count anymore, but I'm guessing it's way over 1 million cupcakes. We've got 56,000 Instagram followers, which, you know, I really jumped onto Instagram when it first came out, because when I first started, how I grew my business was through word of mouth and also Facebook. So when Instagram came around, I was one of the first to get on there and post up photos. So we use that very heavily. We've got over 25,000 likes on Facebook. We've also got 1 million views on YouTube. I don't know how. I just take videos of me frosting cupcakes with my phone, and they kind of went viral. They sold out within like a day. So we're going to get a bigger shipment in October. Okay, so just wanted to show you some of the photos as well. So the first photo is I did a book signing. So when I first launched the cookbook, I didn't expect to have such a long line. I sent it out to my database, and we had over 100 people line up to get me to sign a cookbook, and this is 3 years ago. It's pretty crazy. One of the videos up there, it's got about 481,000 views. And then that's our newest cookbook, which is coming out soon. And yeah, and I do a lot of demonstrations and talks and things like that too. So going through the challenges, with starting a business, and it is not easy. So the first thing is, like everyone that runs a proper business will tell you, it's not easy, but it is worth it. So for me, every day there's so many problems that you have to solve. They just, as soon as you finish solving one problem, another one will come up, and it will just continue, and you just realise that you'll never be out of problems, so you just get used to it. But the challenges I had to overcome was the small business owner mindset. So coming from an Asian background, especially, I think, you know, it is. I didn't tell my mum that I lost my job for 6 months, so I just said I was working at home, and I'd go out to cafes and stuff. But I didn't tell my mum I'd lost my job and I was starting my own business, and I was only baking on the weekends and on Fridays as well, and so she thought it was okay. But it was only when I started to make money then I told her, and she was okay with it. But the whole small business owner mindset is that, you know, it's kind of like when you buy a franchise, or you know, you have a small cafe and you work in it. So if you are not there working in there, you're not making money. It's like a hairdresser, even a doctor, for example. You might own your clinic, but if you don't actually see patients, you don't make money. So that small business owner mindset I had to change. So I had to change it to, how do I become an entrepreneur? Meaning, how do I make money when I sleep? So this means that every single dollar that I invested in was not in myself. Like, I didn't pay myself a big salary. I was paying myself $300 a week just to get by for, you know, a whole year or two. But every other dollar that I made, I would invest in people so that they could start doing the jobs that I could delegate to them. And so I had to do that. What else? Investing money in the right areas. So we invest so much money in our branding and our store fit outs. If you've been to our shops, they're not cheap to build. They cost like $250,000 to $300,000. And a lot of people will, you know, spend $100,000. But for us, we look at every detail and we invest in a lot of the branding, because it is more of a long-term view. So that was one of the challenges, managing growth. So, you know, going from myself, my business partner, and our brothers working in the store to growing to, you know, a team of 10, then 20, now 95, that takes a lot of work, because the more people you have, it's actually the more problems that are created. So I had to learn how to manage that. And again, you know, like everyone else was saying before, the speakers, it's just continuing to learn and expanding my knowledge. So I never stop learning. I love coming to events, especially like this, because I always learn something. You know, I've already learned at least one thing from each of the speakers today, or it was a great reminder. So for me, I always like to attend these kind of events. And also finding mentors. So finding people that have done it to give me advice. So again, it's the whole Simon Sinek thing, you know, start with why. I always tell my staff that we are not in the business of selling cupcakes. We're here to sell an experience, and it's an emotion as well. You know, when people eat a cupcake, you feel happy, you feel joyful. So that's what we're selling. And so when we create workshops, I teach people how to bake. You know, I put all my secret recipes in a cookbook and I sell them. You know, people are always telling me, well, if you're giving away all your secrets, how do you make money? You're just telling other people how to build a business and be your competitor. But I don't work with that mindset. I think the world is so abundant, meaning there is so much out there for you. If you work in a closed mindset, that's all you're ever going to get. So the more you give, the more you'll get in return. So I do a lot of charity work. I'm going over to Cambodia in 2 weeks' time to teach kids in an orphanage how to build businesses. And, you know, people think, that's crazy, how could they ever do that? But we went there, I've been there for 2 years in a row, this is the 3rd year, and yeah, these students are amazing. Already 4 of them have started businesses, and you can see the change that you make in their lives. So I always believe that you need to give to receive. And we also do what we love. You know, I hated the corporate world. I hated working for big banks. Sorry. I did work at ANZ, I worked at a couple of other ones, but you know, I just didn't feel like I loved what I did. So I didn't want to create a workplace that other people didn't love. So I wanted to make sure that all my staff like have a lot of fun and, you know, love to do what they do as well. So we do really fun things. Again, you know, being creative. That's how we stay in front of our competitors. We create unicorn cupcakes. We put the donuts on the cupcakes. You know, we work with big brands and influencers on Instagram. So those sorts of things really set us apart. And you know, we always bake fresh. So I never, you know, sell day-old cupcakes. Any cupcakes that we have left over, we try to donate. So all those sorts of things that we do. At the start, people don't know about this, but as you kind of get your fans and your customers that keep coming back, they know. And they're the ones that you want to share that with. So I wanted to go through how to hatch that dream, because these are the 3 things that really helped me. Again, it's very similar to what everyone was talking about, you know, what makes you feel alive. So for me, I didn't know why I loved cupcakes, but when I started baking cupcakes, it really made me feel alive. It just made me really happy. And so I just listened to it and I followed that. And it kind of just goes on from there. And sometimes people were like, how do you find your passion? How do you know what your life's purpose is? And I believe that you just go out there and you try as many different things as possible. So I always say yes to a lot of opportunities, like even for speaking, if I can, if I'm free, I'll say yes to speaking at events because I get that opportunity to learn as well. The second thing is you are the average of the 5 you spend the most time with. So what I mean is if you look at your 5 friends, the people that you speak to every day, you're the average of them. And so you have to, over my lifetime, I've really, you know, looked at the people that I surround myself with, because if you surround yourself with people that are negative, then that's what you're going to become. If you're going to surround yourself with highly successful people that are driven, that are, you know, pushing boundaries and creative, then that is going to rub off on you. Because they're not going to ostracize you, they're not going to put you down when you say, hey, I have this idea, I want to do this. You know, they're not going to put you down because they're going to encourage you to do that. Or they might be so amazing, you're like, wow, what am I doing with my life? I need to push myself there to get there. So I constantly look at that and see who I surround myself with. Decisions decide destiny. There is no action without decision. So this is by Tony Robbins. I love Tony Robbins. He's like changed my life. But you know, everyone has a dream. Everyone has this idea that they want to do. But how do you actually push yourself forward to do it? And it's actually making that decision where you go, that's it, I'm going to do it. It's kind of like when you want to start an exercise plan and you're like, yeah, I'll start Monday, or I'll start a diet on Monday, whatever. But if you don't actually decide in your mind that you're going to do it and be 100% certain, then you won't actually follow through. So I think when I lost my job, I just made that decision and I said, I'm going to do it, and in 6 months' time, if I fail, I can always go back. So yeah, making that decision really helped me. So I wanted to share with you some resources that have changed my life. So these are the things that really, really helped me. So the first 2 books, Awaken the Giant Within, which is by Tony Robbins. If you can, invest some time to go to one of his Unleash the Power Within seminars. So usually that's in Sydney. And so I saved up to go to the first one. I went in just before I lost my job actually. I went there about a year before I lost my job and I saved up like, I think it was $800. And I saved up to go to Sydney to attend that event, and that was why I actually decided to start my own business as well. So yeah, read that book, it's amazing. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I think a lot to do with building wealth and money and in abundance is to do with mindset again, because money is all around. It's just how you kind of look at that opportunity to and feel that you're worthy of making money is actually a big thing that I had to overcome. If you don't like reading, listen to the podcast Tim Ferriss show. It's quite amazing. markmanson.net, which is a really cool blog to read about life. He's really, really, he's actually really quite straightforward, and I really like what he talks about life's purpose and figuring that out. And I will teach you how to be rich, which is a funny name for it, and it sounds like he just wants to make money, but Ramit Sethi is actually really cool. He has a lot of courses online that you can kind of do, but I really like his style. So those are the 5 resources. And then also with practices, I think these are the 3 things that I want to share with you all today, because I wish I had known about them much earlier on. So the first one is meditation. I've been doing it consistently every day for the last 2 years, and it's changed my life. I do something similar to transcendental meditation. If you have seen that crazy Jim Carrey clip on E! News, Jim Carrey is one of those enlightened, awake people that practices transcendental meditation, but it actually does work. So I believe that that's helped me a lot. Journaling, so I like to journal a lot and write every single day, or at least a few times a week. And then the last one is saying yes to opportunities. So for me, how I've built up my, brand or influence in Melbourne is because I always say yes. When people invite me to talks, when people invite me to events, I go to events maybe 5 or 6 times a week, which is probably a positive advantage of being single. So you can do whatever I want. But going out to these events, you meet and network with people, and you start to build your influence there. That's about it. And hopefully you found that really useful.
You know what, to me and most of the people here, tomorrow's still Monday. We're all of the Edit Talk organizer today. So we really hope that after today, after the speaker or our guest speaker from Anh Duy, from Cheryl, from Anh Ngọc, from Chị Hà, we will have some good joy the organization soon. We're gonna have some new business start very soon. Okay, we hope that. But please don't make cupcake. We don't need more competitor. We don't make bánh mì. We don't need competitor. Okay, you can do tiramisu central. You can do bánh xèo, whatever. Okay, and don't give me more competitor. That's the best already. Okay. So reminder, volunteer. Can you help me to come and collect all of the questions from the guests so we can ready for the discussion panel? Okay. So if you can give this one to volunteer, we collect it very soon. Okay. Let's come to this side. Let's come to this side of the presentations. So we have a very interesting guest today. Can you share with us, huh?
Before we move to the next part, I'd like to talk about a really interesting about Elite Talks, which is Elite Talk is obviously an organization that we try to create a platform where we can help all leaders to share the story to inspire young generations. And also Elite Talks is trying to look for potential young people who can be a speaker in the next few years. They can stand here and they can share the stories. So that's why Bay Competitions is the project of Elite Talks. It's the very first public speaking competitions that was organized in Mekong Delta in south of Vietnam. And Bay Competition provoked the powers and desire of young Vietnamese people and equipped them with skills, and positive attitude that allow them to follow their dreams, strive for success, and become an active global citizens. So now, we would like to welcome...
To introduce more to you about the day competition, I would like to ask our team to rewrite the video clip for day competition. Is it okay? So, for those who can play, please on the stage you will see the video clip about the day competition that's have organized in Vietnam last month. Okay, play on the stage. Get the visa, they flew all the way from Kansas City to Melbourne. Please welcome on stage our two champions, Mai Ngọc from University Group and Kiều Anh from High School Group. Welcome on stage. Please allow me to call them Bear, with his little sister in Vietnamese because they quite young. Okay, so we have Mai Ngọc and Kiều Anh here. So I think that Mai Ngọc em bé có một cái điều gì đó muốn nói, muốn chia sẻ với tất cả mọi người. Okay, I think that her English is really good. So she gonna speak in English and let's see what is her sharing. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mai Ngọc, and I'm from Kansas City. So I must say that I'm very lucky that I did use my mouth and my ability to be creative to earn a trip to Melbourne. And this has been a privilege for me to come here to join our talk show. And I must say that through all of the inspiring stories of our speakers, I feel that I've been inspired so much. And all of the stories of our speakers has supported one belief of mine is that if you can dream it, you can have it. In Vietnamese, it is good morning, God. But you might say that maybe if you dream it, you have to do lots of things. You have to work, you have to find a way, you have to find a sponsor or something. But one person that I extremely admire has told me that if you dream something, there will be something inside you that would drive you to that destination. That the things that you want to achieve in your life. So if you ask me that maybe you have some dream in your life that you think that is very nonsense, very ridiculous, I can tell you one thing, that every dream is ridiculous until there is somebody who can achieve it. So how do I know it? Because I listened to all of the stories of our speakers today. They are all very normal people with big dreams. They dream it and then they do their best to achieve it. And there is one link that I can find among all the stories of our speakers. First one is Mr. Sun Ngọc, and he said that let's enjoy something outside our job. And then there we have Miss Ha Bui said that she really enjoys helping other people and adding values to other people's life. And then we have Mr. Yui Hun, who said that you have to listen to yourself, you have to do what you want, and then you start a business without thinking about money. Just start a business with the why. And at the end of all the 3 inspiring stories, we have the most practical story that with Ms. Sherry had. And through her story, I believe that you can run to the conclusion that if you have a dream and you know what you want to go, you can actually achieve it. So again, in conclusion, I just want to tell you that after you get out of this door, just remember one thing. If you have a dream, stick to it. And if you dream it, you can have it. Good morning, your God, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your inspiring speech. And now I'd like to introduce Kiều Anh. Okay, so what is she's one the champions of the university sector, and Kiều Anh was the champion of high school sector of the competition. So now she will share her feelings that she was speaking in Vietnamese. So em có thể cho chị biết là cảm nhận của em như thế nào khi em được ở đây được tham gia Edit Talk cùng với mọi người không?
Em xin chào tất cả mọi người. Chào, em xin phép được nói tiếng Việt bởi vì em muốn nói tốt tiếng Anh này chị Ngọc đâu. Em là Kiều Anh, hiện em đang học lớp 12 tại Cần Thơ. Em biết đến cuộc thi by competition qua confession của trường, và lúc đó thì em muốn là em thử sức mình, vì by competition cũng là một cơ hội và cũng như là một thử thách đối với bản thân em. Em hy vọng là em có thể vượt qua nó, và hôm nay thì chúng em được đến đây là một cái điều rất là may mắn đối với cả em và cả chị Ngọc. Lúc mà em không có qua Úc á, tại đó giờ chưa được bao giờ qua Úc hết á, thì cái em mới mường tượng là ôi trời, chắc Úc phồn hoa dữ lắm, Úc là ồn ào dữ lắm. Ai về đâu, qua kia thấy khác hẳn luôn, thấy là cảm nhận của em là cảm nhận là một cái gì đó nó rất là yên tĩnh, yên bình, và em rất là thích ở đây luôn. Không khí thì rất là trong lành. Và em hy vọng là những chương trình như Elite Talk by Competition sẽ đến nhiều hơn ở Việt Nam, để cho thế hệ trẻ Việt Nam có thể phát huy chính bản thân của mình, để một lần nữa thì các bạn trẻ Việt Nam có thể mà vươn xa hơn trong tầm thế giới. Như hồi nãy thì Bisker Duy Quỳnh đã có nói một cái câu là listen to yourself. What do you want? Cái điều đó thì rất nhiều bạn trẻ Việt Nam hiện nay họ chưa có thể nào trả lời được cái câu hỏi cho chính bản thân mình. Vì vậy em mong muốn rằng một cái show thực tế của Úc sẽ mang về đến cho Việt Nam, để các bạn trẻ Việt Nam có thể tự khẳng định mình và tự bước lên đấu trường quốc tế. I love Việt Nam.
You
about Elite Talks 2020.
2020. I'll invite you again. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, good. Thank you. Okay, we would like to invite all of our four guest speakers for here so we can have a discussion panel. And here we actually want to answer nearly all, try to answer all of the questions that provided for our guests today. So I would like to invite all of you here, okay? Okay, I think that we already have some of the questions from our volunteer collected from our speaker. But first of all, as a host for today, I actually have some question for you. Hi, you would like to go first?
Okay. So listen through all of your speeches, very inspiring. I come up with the questions for the group Climb Up, which is Mr. Sun Yao and so we all knows that looking for a job is a crazy race competition with 1,000 people. So in order to win a position in a big corporate, how can we stand out from the crowd, from 1,000 million of CVs to win a position? So as you want to choose.
Ladies first.
Okay, before lady first, I would like to ask you to move a little bit upward so we're gonna have a better photo. Okay. Okay, cameraman, is it okay? Good? Thank you. Wow.
Okay, that's a very good question. And how to stand out from the crowd. There's one story I can recall, and I think this is very good reflection of what you can do to really stand out. So when I was still working for Vietnam Financial Review, and there was the job opportunity at ANZ as a head of communications. And that was one of the stakeholders in a way, the head of marketing for ANZ Vietnam. She called me and said, hey, this is the position, and would you like to apply for it? And I applied because, that kind of very challenging time for media. And working in media in Vietnam, particularly in the English area, is really challenging. And a lot of censorship and just tiring issue that you have to deal with every day. Anyway, so I was, after that challenge, applied for the job, and I was through to the final interview. And I think 2 days before the interview that the interview with the CEO actually will be in Ho Chi Minh, and I was based in Hanoi. Yeah, and then I was thinking about it, and they offered to have the Skype interview. And on the day of the interview, I showed up in Ho Chi Minh office, and the CEO was like, "What? I thought I was gonna have a Skype interview with you," and I told him that I was very interested in the role, and I think that I can make a decision, and I'm gonna add some values, and with all my experience and all the beautiful things that you can talk about yourself. But the reason you showed up at the interview face to face, that was a way to stand out. So there's a million ways to stand out, but creating the first personal experience with the interviewer is one of the ways that somewhere in your life, being bold and doing something different will help create a quite unique impression for employers or whoever you want to impress in life. So yeah.
It's all comes from passionate, right?
Yeah, dedication to doing something different.
I'm talking about the CVs. So I think that Can you hear me? Okay. Hello? Okay. So I see a lot of CVs come across my desk, and it can be really difficult to discern one candidate from another when all you have is their name, the typical things that people put in CVs. And really what I want to see when I look at a CV is I want to know who this person is. I want to know, I want to see something in the CV that makes me think, that's interesting, that's interesting, that person is interesting, I want to see your personality come through in your CV. Don't just write what job you did, write what you achieved and why you achieved it, and put some numbers against that particular achievement, right? Even if it's a volunteer job, I volunteered for this group, I organised 20,000 people to, at an event that did this, so put some numbers and clear things. At the end of it, where people put interests and special things that you do, usually people put their sporting endeavours and they like to paint or whatever. Put something original. So figure out something that's original that you do. We all have a thing that is interesting, what's something that is interesting? So I like, playing with Lego, or I build Lego spaceships. There's something that's interesting that makes people think, okay, that's something interesting about that person. So I want to hear a bit of a story about who you are. Yeah.
My CV is ready tomorrow for you. Okay, let's start with my question. So I have a question for actually Cheryl. You own a business. You making cupcake every day. Is it enough time for you to take care of your family?
My family is me, No, I have a family. Like I have a brother and my mum and my dad. But they kind of take care of themselves. So I take care of. I enjoy my alone time.
So what actually the question is your personal time. So your personal life. Are you just enjoy cooking so much, baking so much, so that is your personal life?
So the first 3 years I had no life, so I didn't have friends. I literally worked 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. I would wake up at 4 a.m, start baking, bake, clean the kitchen, serve customers, close the shop, do marketing, do the books, and then repeat again and again. And then slowly I realised that I needed a life. So I started to put more systems in place so that now the business runs without me. So for me, I wouldn't say lucky because I worked really hard for it, but I also feel very lucky that if I don't want to go into work, I don't have to.
Okay. Should I go to work tomorrow? Okay. Yeah.
Bạn có hỏi rằng là làm thế nào để mà cái CV hay là cái hồ sơ của bạn nó vượt hơn những người khác, đúng không ạ? In my experience, I think that the first thing is we have to prepare for every change. Always flexible, like I said before, flexible for every job. If the opportunities is coming, you prepared, you ready, and you're willing to do that. And for example, in my media sector, we always need to see, need to hear the voice, need to see the face of the candidate for every resume, for everything. That's what we need. And the confidence is really, really important. I think the confidence is important for other sector, not only in media, in other sectors, everywhere. So I think that is what we need. And the second thing is that the luckiness. Without luckiness, we can't be the successful people. Believe me in that. Believe me. Luckiness. Sometimes we can't tell something that I can do this, I can do that without preparation. But in a good day, maybe they choose you. My job choose me. Honestly, choose me. Sometimes lucky is really important. And I would like to share with you my previous recruitment with Toyota. You know Toyota. Right now they're ready to close all the factory in Australia. But 3-4 years ago, I prepared all the things to apply for the Toyota, and I overcame all the tests before coming to work with them. But at the last minute, they call me and tell me that we can't accept, we can't go with you because you are not the Australian. You don't have the permanent residency. That's not lucky, yeah? If lucky, I would work for Toyota at least until right now 4 years before it's closing down, yeah? Yeah, that's what I would like to share with you. Thank you.
I think maybe one minor point I would like to add in terms of CV, what is happening with ANZ is actually they are removing from the traditional CV process. So they probably would look for your LinkedIn profile. So it would be good to really keep updating your LinkedIn profile, reflecting as Zui said that what is genuine, what is you. So social media at its best is the reflection of you in real life. So make sure you keep updating your LinkedIn profile because it's one of the sources that corporates are looking to hire. Yeah.
Okay, let me start with the very interesting question from our guest today. This is for Jihan. Okay, very interesting one. Okay, so you have talked about T-shape collaboration and adaptability. Do you have particular advice for the color changing ability but still stay unique? So we have talked about T-shape collaboration and adaptability. Do you have a particular advice for the color changing ability but still stay unique?
Okay. Yeah, just to be you, right?
Yes, it still be you.
I think the point about being nimble, being agile, being adaptive doesn't mean that you have to be someone else. It doesn't mean that you have to fake. That's all about, to the point about the speaker say, be yourself, be your unique self. And if you have something to add, that's what the employers will look to hire. So it's all about building your experience. It's not about showing your qualifications, because what they look to hire you is your attitude. And reflecting on the flying to Ho Chi Minh and attend the interview in person is I was able to show my attitude that I was determined. I wanted to get the job, and I took action to be standing out from others. So be yourself. Being adaptive doesn't mean that you have to go around it and trying to fake to really suit whatever the employers want. If that is not the employers that want to hire you, there will be some other employers that really values your experience, your ability, your capability. So find the one that values you. Don't try to fit yourself with the organization that doesn't value you, and you won't be happy with that. So, yeah.
Thank
Hope
you so
that
much.
helped.
I hope that helped. We actually have one more question for Anjui for the startup team. I think that's quite interesting. How to fail fast if I don't have money? Good question.
Well,
reality.
It's actually when you don't have money that's the best time to fail. So, because when you start to get investors in and there's millions of dollars on the line and of their money, then that's when you don't want to fail. So failing fast means go out and test your product. If you're making cupcakes, go out to the market stalls and test the product. Make sure that customers like what you're doing. So the worst thing I could do is to immediately, go out and open 100 baguette stores and then assume that people like the recipes. You know, you need to fail with that recipe fast. You know, if people don't like that, if that model doesn't work, that needs to fail fast so that you can pick a business model that does work, right? So that's what I mean. It's not about go out and deliberately fail. Although there's a lot of fear around failure, and you really need to get rid of that fear of failure. You're going to fail. Okay? You're going to fail many times in your life and in your career. You just need to you need to be able to pick that up quickly, and you want to do it quickly so you don't wait 5 years before you decide that that's not working.
Thank you so much, Anne. How so you want to invite our guest today for any question? Yes, for the audience. Okay, so we come back with some of the question here with the audience. So if you have the question, raise your hand after my count. Okay, so on my count, okay? 1, 2, 3. Okay, so the first one, okay. Yeah, can you just chat out? Introduce yourself and then your question.
Yes, my name is Kim Fu and I'm studying at U. So, I have a question particular for Mr. Tri. I'm really inspired by your presentation. It was really good. Now my question is about how to fail fast. When did you decide to pivot from the original idea or the original business plan? Do you base on the matrix that you collect, or do you base on your gut feeling about how the market will change?
Yeah. That's a really good question. So pivoting is a constant thing. Your business model is constantly evolving, right? So no longer is the time where you sort of write down a huge business plan that's a 100-page document, put it on your top drawer and put it away, and you never look at it again. Your business model is something that is constantly evolving. So at every stage, you need to ask yourself, is my customer segment still the same? Is my value proposition still the same? Are they still, interested in each other? What are the channels that I'm going to use to get to market? Is that still the same today? And do the same channels that I used 2 years ago, are they the same channels that I should be working? Is Instagram still working in the same way that it was? Facebook, is that still the channel that I get to my audience better? The other aspects of your business model, if you look at the business model canvas clips, exploring each of those things and understanding that business is constantly evolving so that you're not stuck behind. And when and what do you use to make your decisions? It's not gut instinct per se. There is a portion of that okay, I understand that when a customer says to me they want healthy salads, that's an ideal thing rather than a specific, there's a gut instinct around that. You need to base your pivoting on data. So you need to say, okay, so what are the sales that are coming through? What products are popular? What products are we wasting time making that nobody's buying? Get rid of those. That's costing us money to make those every day and nobody's buying. So use data to make your informed decisions. Use data around your metrics about what customers are actually buying, the channels that they're coming through. And once you have that data, you pivot to a different business model. Yeah. But speaking more generally about multiple businesses. And does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I would also just adding on the point about data is there's one recent article written by GM HR on bluenotes.anz.com. You can find it said the title of the article is Agility is a New Currency, and it's on the point about data. Even large corporates, they're really looking at you as individual with regardless of what area of expertise you are. Your knowledge or your understanding about data or technology will help you stand out as well. So if you can get extra knowledge on data, get insights, it will help your job, whatever role you are, but have that data driven kind of solutions or thinking or mindset, it will help you. Yeah.
Can I just clarify also that data doesn't necessarily mean that you buy data from somewhere. Data is about is as simple as calling up 10 customers and saying, I want you to come into the store and try all of this food that of your new menu items. And so that data is still data. It's empirical, and that's sometimes just as important as buying, food trends of 2017, or 2018. You really want to spend the time talking to your customers. If you're starting up a business, call 10 customer segment people that belong to your customer segment. If you decide that you're selling a car, then go to 10 different people that represent a potential customer and ask them questions about that particular market. Ask them questions that help you to determine whether the value that you're offering is something that they're interested in. Tesla, for example, if you were Tesla, you would think that, okay, well, maybe people buy cars because they are interested in helping the environment, because they're interested in saving money on fuel, and they're interested in that they would be prepared to swap performance for fuel economy. And then you would go like Ford did, and a whole bunch of other car companies did, and assume that that's correct. And the reality is that's not correct, because Tesla's model is actually the people that they are selling to don't care about, they care about the environment. It's a secondary thing. So that's where your instinct kicks in, it's a secondary concern. Their main concern is they want to be seen as trend adopters, as trendsetters, and they want a car that is high performing, that maybe is good for the environment as well. So you know what I mean? So that's where you pivot your business model from where you think the market is to what the actual market wants from talking to your customers.
Thank you, Solomon. Okay. So for our host.
I can say we got two really beautiful young women here who wants to run a business and who's in a really big firm. Myself is also really get inspired by the women who get themselves out there and be successful. So I just have the questions for the two of you is what are the challenges of being a woman doing the business or running your own business in this world, in general? So you can start with.
I would like to give the question for the leader of Extraordinary Women to answer that
questions.
specific question.
I actually think it is an advantage to be a female and starting a business. For me, I've had a lot of opportunity because there aren't as many women running businesses to actually go out there and tell my story. So this took me a lot of courage, no one else was doing it, and a lot of the times people would ask me to do it and I'd be too scared and shy to share my story, but I realised by doing this I was inspiring a lot more women and girls to go, actually I can go and follow my dream. I mean, my dream is so silly. I wanted to bake cupcakes for a living. I remember going to entrepreneur events like where I met Dee, and guys would come up to me and go, oh, what do you do? And I said, I bake cupcakes. And some would say, oh, that's a nice hobby. And so, that kind of no, it wasn't. But that helped, that lit this fire in me to show I want to create something bigger. I want to be able to create a business that makes a real impact. So I think it is an advantage to being female, I think,
there's one thing I'd like to add. Is I was lucky enough to support in terms of comms for the head of HR for ANZ. So before Catherine, it was Susie Babinian. She was really big in supporting women into the workforce, particularly women in management. So in banking, we have 50-50 in terms of entrant level, but when it goes up to the management level, it fell dramatically. They tried so hard to get 30% women in management. And women, she wrote a lot of articles which are very helpful to read. You can go to Blue Notes and read the article by Susie Babanese as well. But there's one thing I think really struck the chord in me was there's reverse kind of feedback, particularly from white male, and they label it as reverse discrimination against men, because they, as you said, women has advantage, and also even with recruitment, some of the line managers took it completely wrong, and they put women first, not because that woman was more capable, but because the target, or that they need more women in the team. So my advice for you is actually don't think about it from whether you're a woman or a man or transgender or whatever it is, but more about what you adding to the table, and what mindset, what thinking, what values you adding to the table, and be bold about it. And even challenge it back. And even for me, I was an Asian woman, and working in finance, big firm, and that seems to be an advantage to climb higher, but that's not the case. That's what I bring to the table, regardless of my gender, my age, or my background. So yeah, I think it's more about your capability at the end of the day. So yeah.
Thank you. I think the next question I'm going to be allocated to Anh Sung. So there's a question asking you about you talking a lot of things related to making a relationship in working. So the question is how to create relationship in Australia effectively.
Thank you for your question. I think that in my job, especially in SBS, we have a really big problem with the relationship, because you know that, as I said before, we have a big gap between the community here, the refugee community here. Sorry for that. I just want to tell you the big gap between them and another community like student, another one who came here later. That's the problem of Vietnamese program as well. So what I have done is that try to connect and try to fulfill the gap between that. And when I can do that, I'm successful. So all the community, between the two communities, we all have the difference in mind, different in thinking, different in background, in knowledge, the history, the politics. But I used like flexible with the community of maybe student, maybe other one who came later. We have to exploit all the backgrounds. Like maybe I tell you right now, I understand what you're thinking. I share with you with my heart, and you share with me. Of course, vice versa, and we understand each other. But the most important thing that let's try to treat other people with your heart first. Honesty first, all the time. And I choose that not only with this community, with other communities, with the refugee community. And honestly, until right now, I have a really strong relationship with many leaders of the Vietnamese refugee community here. That makes us successful in our job, in our working every day. Because sometimes we have some event in the community. I just make a call. For example, the president of Vietnamese refugees community here, Mr. Nguyễn Văn Bon, I just make a call. I know about that event, and he is willing to answer any interviews about that. And I share his story with all the community, not only refugees community, with all, but in my way, in a balanced way, and with my heart, and all understand, and all feel that, oh, that's okay, you do that. That's my experience.
As long as the intention is come from your heart, the bottom of yours. That's the how to create a relationship. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right that kind of level of being honest and true to who you are is really valuable, and the ability to come across authentically as a person. Much earlier in my career and my business life, it was always about presenting as a particular thing, you know, presenting as somebody who should be worthy of talking to the head of, you know, a bank or a head of a government department. And I think what's important in relationships is that you share your journey and who you are. So everything that you are, you know, the awkwardness about who you are and everything that you think is a little bit embarrassing, you know, you need to sort of see that as a strength. You know, you need to see that as, you know, that's me. That's, you know, that is part of who I am, and I am a little bit awkward sometimes, or sometimes I am a little bit embarrassed about certain things. But the way to create relationships is to be okay to be a bit vulnerable about, you know, who you are sometimes, and that's important, and to communicate that in any kind of transaction, because ultimately you are working with another human being, and it's important that they connect with you on a human-to-human level. You know? I don't come into a client meeting with CSIRO and say and present as being beyond edge. I present myself. I am myself, and this is what I have to offer, and this is why you need, you know, this is why we should talk. You know? And so that's important. So everything that you think is awkward about you, he can transform that into a strength. That's important, and to be who you are.
Thank you so much. I think there is a question for Cheryl over there. So let's ask one of our guests.
Hi everyone, my name is Len. I think all of your speeches was really inspiring and educational, but I have something to tell with Cheryl. I have been here almost 3 months, and I went to orientation week, you know, I went to university, and I mentioned it, and then you gave us the speech, and about cupcakes and food and everything, and I'm so grateful that I came that day, because, you know, you have inspired me so much, that I actually registered for entrepreneur class in school, and I've learned so much from them, and yeah, and I have ate a lot of cupcakes as well. And that is like one of the inspiration for me to just kidding. So I went to Cupcake Central to buy cupcakes for like once, and I saw these 2 girls. I think they were like tourists, and they came and bought it, and they were like, oh, we remember we have to get here, we have to get, you know, like Cupcake Central, because it's, you know, it's like super special, something special for the city. Later, Melbourne. Yeah, you know, like cupcakes from Melbourne. When you go to Melbourne, you have to get that cupcake. And I saw that, and then I thought to myself, you know, like branding is really, really important. And I really admire you for, you know, like how did you build that brand, you know, within, you know, your journey. So my question is that, how did you start, you know, to build your own brand? Like, how do you actually put yourself out there to, you know, like telling people like what your product or your brand stands for? And I think it's really important for entrepreneurs. And yeah, that's my question.
Thank you for your question. Your turn.
So the question is, how did you build a brand? So how I started with my brand before I even started my business from home was I sat by myself and I wrote and I just dreamed. I just thought to myself, how do I want my cupcake store to look like? So if you have a dream and whatever it is, if you want to, you know, run a marathon, you sit there and you dream about how it would look like when you actually achieve it. And so when I dreamt about my cupcake store, I came up with 3 things. The first thing was that it was an experience. So these are my values. the business has to be an experience. The second one was quality, so everything that we do in the store, what ingredients we use in our cupcakes, everything has to be of quality. And then the third one was aspiration. How I can explain it is that, you know, why would you buy an LV bag over a normal $10 bag? And it's because of the brand. It's because of how it makes you feel, how people perceive you. So when I created Cupcake Central, I imagined that when people would hold our box of cupcakes and go to a party, they would go, oh my God, they're Cupcake Central cupcakes, they're the best in Melbourne. That's what I imagined. And so because I imagined these things, I started doing lots of little things in the business to ensure that that would happen. So, you know, our boxes, if you look at it, cost us money. They open like shoe boxes, so it's like a gift when you open it. The branding and the logo is very different because every other cupcake store had a cupcake on their logo. We didn't want that. And the colour of our brand is not pink because everyone thinks it's a pink cupcake shop. And especially, you know, my business partner, he was like, I'm not going to work in a pink cupcake store. So he was like, I want to work in a cool cafe cupcake store. So, you know, he created the brand, he helped develop it. And it worked out really well because it's more of a masculine brand than a feminine brand. We have guys come to our store all the time, and so they love cupcakes. But, you know, they don't need to pretend they're buying cupcakes for someone else.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, one last question for today's discussion panel.
One have questions over there. Okay.
For that side, okay?
Do you want to count or you just get only one person?
Just, yeah,
Do you
get
need
it.
a microphone?
Oh, no.
Okay.
So, yeah, I have a question for Cheryl as well. So, because I'm not only inspired by those stories, it's very interesting story, but I also like the way you deliver the story. It's very naturally and organically. And you told that you was very shy, but I don't know how that changed point of view from there. And now you've written 2 books and be a co-founder and of the Women Extraordinary magazine. So I'm just wondering how you changed from there to where we are today.
Yeah, very good question. Thank you. The first one was Tony Robbins. Like, I swear to God, Tony Robbins changed my life because he's a transformation coach. He taught me that anything is possible. And I think when you start to open your mind, you start to realise that you can do anything. And everyone says it all the time, but until one day it just clicks, you go, actually, I can actually achieve anything, which is what each of us have done here. So I always have teachers that teach me and I pay them lots of money. So one of my coaches that taught me how to speak, and I used to be I was not very good at speaking, and she taught me that in the room of people, a third of you probably will love you already, a third of them will be on the fence, so they don't really care, they don't like you or they don't like you, and then a third of them will probably hate you. So the thing is, when you speak to an audience, if you're trying to speak to the people that hate you, what will happen is you start to change how you speak, and because you're trying to change how you talk and the personality you are and who you are, you actually throw off 2/3 of the room, and they don't like you because they can't connect to you, and actually you just end up having everyone not like you. But if you speak to the people that really love you, and you speak as yourself, and you come from the heart, and it doesn't matter if you stuff up, if you don't think about what you're trying to say, and you're grounded. You know, when they talk about being grounded, is do you know who you are? What are your values? Are you standing for what you believe in? then when you speak from the heart, and everyone will love you anyway. So that's what I learned, and that helped me a lot. So hopefully that helps.
Do you love her now? Thank you so much. Okay, and now I would like to invite Miss Molly, the project manager for Melly Talk organizer. She's going to say thank you to all of you, as well as she will have a very special gift for all of you as well. Welcome on stage, Miss Molly. Okay, Molly, do you want to tell us why this one is special?
First of all, thank you for everyone for coming tonight. It's a very special event, and it's a very special gift because the flower is like made from paper, and our volunteer team spent a whole week to make all of them. And then many accidents happen for the last minute, and we try to fix it up. And hope all the speakers like it. And thank you everyone for coming. Yeah.
And all guest speeches. Thank you. Okay, so this is the chance for our audience today. We're gonna do the lucky draw for our lucky audience today. So first of all, I would like to invite Mrs. Natalie from Seed Training. Natalie, welcome on stage. Okay, so Natalie, can you share with us all today as well as Seed Training?
Hi everyone, thanks for coming tonight. I enjoyed the whole event. So I come from Sydney Group. In Sydney Group, we provide some vertical accounting training, and we also have placement internship in IT, marketing, in finance and accounting as well. It helps students to get more experience after they graduate, and easier to get the job offer from the employers. So today I have two lucky draws. One of them is scholarship, 100% for the bookkeeping course in 5 days. It will train you in MYB, record and Euro software and accounting. And another one will be 12 months from SAP.
Okay, so I think that you all have your lucky draw number in your hand.
Everyone, do you see your lucky draw?
Okay, we're gonna start with the very first one, which is the. Okay, that is on for the guests that the audience that have number is the letter A on your lucky draw number, because this is only for accounting, right? For accounting student. So if you have your number 8 on your lucky draw, this is your opportunity. Okay, so let's start with the very first one, letter A. Okay.
Number 12.
It's still yours. Anyway, it's still yours. Okay, let's take the second one. Okay, you stay over here. Okay, it's next to me. Okay.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Number 9.
Does anyone have number 9?
Number 9 for the first time. Number 9 for the second time. Okay.
That's a reminder.
Can you give me back that lucky drawer box? I'm sorry. I thought that they're gonna be here for the prize. Thank you. So let's start with another number.
Number 1.
Number 1. Woo! Boss Alan.
Number 1.
Number 1. The third term. Okay, let's move to the next number.
Number 4.
Number 4.
Okay.
Today. So can you tell me again what is the prize for that?
The first one will be the bookkeeping training in 5 days. It will train you how to do MYB, accounting software and accounting. And the second one is the e-learning hub in 12 months from SAP.
Okay, thank you so much, Natalie. I would like you to introduce yourself and then the prize will be yours. Let me introduce yourself.
Hi everyone. My name is Sin. I'm currently an alternate year student at the University of Melbourne, majoring in accounting and finance.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello everyone. My name is Jung and I'm studying Monash University and I'm studying accounting major.
Thank you so much, Ryan. So, congratulations for your very first scholarship. Can you have a bigger hand for everybody? Okay, the second lucky drawer will be the voucher for $800 S&W consulting room for all of the services. Okay, so I would like to introduce Mr. Leo Voon, the regional manager from SW on the stage. Okay, this is all for everybody. So, can you let me see your ticket on your hand? Not the ticket. You don't have the ticket? Okay, that's fine. Okay, Lil, so can we try for the first one? Okay, we only have one prize, so yeah. Okay, you sure? Slowly. Okay, slowly. Wow. Okay. We start with number.
No, let's start with letter C.
Okay. Let's start with letter C. Is everybody have C?
Okay. And the next number is 3. C and 3.
No, not yet.
It's not like 3. Okay.
The last one is 2. Number C, 32.
C32. 31.
C, 32.
31.
Come on. We have the winner finally.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, so my name is Chung. I'm studying at Deakin University, majoring in tech.
Okay, that's very helpful for you, the voucher from S&W. So congratulations again. And yeah, so this is the prize from the voucher from S&W.